Long ago, before roads crossed the valleys and before cities sparkled beneath the stars, there stood a mountain unlike any other. From a distance, travelers could see its shape stretched across the horizon. The ridges formed a broad forehead, a noble nose, folded hands upon a chest, and long legs resting peacefully against the earth. It looked exactly like a giant sleeping beneath the sky. The people who lived nearby called it the Sleeping Giant Mountain. Some believed it was merely a mountain shaped by wind and time. Others whispered a different tale. They said the giant was real, and they said he was only sleeping. Tonight, let us journey into that ancient legend, a story passed from one generation to another, beside glowing campfires and beneath moonlit skies. This is the story of the Sleeping Giant. Many centuries ago, a beautiful valley rested between forests and rivers. Every morning, silver mist floated across the grasslands. Birds sang among towering pine trees. Crystal streams danced over smooth stones. The people of the valley lived simple lives. They farmed the land. They fished in the rivers. And every evening, they gathered around warm fires to tell stories. The valley was peaceful. Yet there was one thing that always fascinated them. Far beyond the forest stood an enormous mountain shaped like a sleeping man. Children would point toward it and ask, "Who is he?" The elders always smiled. "That," they would say, "is the sleeping giant." "But why does he sleep?" The elders would look toward the distant mountain. Then they would answer softly, "Because he once saved the world." And thus began the tale. In the oldest days, giants roamed the world. Most were wild and powerful. Some shook forests with their footsteps. Others carved rivers through mountains. Among them lived a giant named Arkan. Arkan was unlike the others. Though he possessed incredible strength, he was kind. He loved the beauty of the world. He listened to birds sing. He watched sunsets paint the sky. He protected animals from danger. While many giants sought power, Arkan sought peace. The people trusted him. Whenever storms threatened villages, Arkan helped reinforce homes. Whenever rivers flooded, he carried families to safety. The humans admired him, and he cared deeply for them. For many years, harmony filled the land, but darkness was approaching. Far beyond the northern mountains lived a terrible ruler known as the Shadow King. He desired control over everything: forests, rivers, animals, humans, even the sky itself. The Shadow King believed kindness was weakness. He commanded armies of darkness. Wherever his forces marched, fear followed. Villages burned, fields withered, hope disappeared. Soon rumors spread across the world. The Shadow King was coming. The people became afraid. Many prayed for help. Others prepared to flee. But Arkan stood firm. He knew someone had to protect the world, and so he made a decision. He would confront the Shadow King himself. Before sunrise, Arkan began his journey north. The people gathered to say goodbye. Children hugged his enormous fingers. Families offered gifts. The village elder stepped forward. "You carry our hopes with you." Arkan smiled. "I will return." Then he walked toward the horizon. For many months he traveled, across endless forests, through frozen valleys, over towering cliffs. He crossed lands no human had ever seen. Along the way, he helped everyone he met. He rescued travelers lost in snowstorms. He saved villages from landslides. He healed rivers blocked by fallen rocks. Wherever Arkan walked, hope followed. Yet the farther north he traveled, the darker the world became. The trees grew twisted. The skies turned gray. Silence filled the air. He was nearing the Shadow King's domain. At last, Arkan reached the northern wasteland. There stood the Shadow King. His castle rose from black stone. Storm clouds swirled above. Lightning flashed across the sky. The Shadow King laughed when he saw Arkan. "You dare challenge me?" Arkan stood tall. "I challenge your cruelty." The ground trembled, the wind roared, and then the battle began. For 7 days and 7 nights they fought. Mountains cracked, rivers changed course, thunder echoed across the world. The Shadow King unleashed darkness. Arkan answered with courage. Again and again they clashed. Neither would surrender. The world watched in fear. On the 7th night, Arkan realized something. The Shadow King's power came from a magical crystal hidden deep within the castle. As long as the crystal existed, darkness would never end. There was only one way to stop it, but it required a terrible sacrifice. Arkan stormed into the castle. He found the crystal glowing with dark energy. The giant knew what must be done. Using every ounce of strength, he lifted the crystal. Its power burned like fire. Cracks of energy spread across his skin. Still, he held on. Then he carried the crystal far away, to a lonely plain overlooking the world. There, Arkan gathered all his remaining strength. With one mighty roar, he shattered the crystal. A brilliant light exploded across the sky. Darkness vanished. The Shadow King's power disappeared forever. The world was saved. But the crystal's energy had drained Arkan completely. His strength faded. His body grew heavier and heavier. He lay down upon the earth. His eyes slowly closed, and before he fell asleep, he whispered, "As long as the world remains kind, I shall rest." Then silence came. Arkan slept, and over time nature covered him. Grass grew upon his body. Trees rooted along his arms. Stone formed across his skin. Years became centuries. Centuries became ages. Eventually, people forgot he had ever been a giant. They believed he was simply a mountain. The sleeping giant mountain. Generations passed. Kingdoms rose and fell. Languages changed. But one promise remained. The elders taught their children. The giant still sleeps. When kindness fills the world, he rests peacefully. But should darkness ever threaten everything again, they say he may awaken. No one knew whether the legend was true. Yet every time people looked at the mountain, they felt comfort, as though a guardian still watched over them, even in sleep. Many years later, a young boy named Eli lived in the valley. Unlike others, Eli loved exploring. One evening, he wandered closer to the mountain than anyone usually dared. As the sun disappeared, he sat quietly beside a stream. Then he heard something strange. A deep sound, slow, steady, rhythmic, like breathing. Eli froze. The sound seemed to come from inside the mountain. Breath in, breath out. Breath in, breath out. The mountain was alive. The boy ran home and told everyone. Most people laughed. Others smiled politely. But Eli knew what he had heard, and from that day forward, he believed. The giant still slept beneath the stone. Years later, a terrible drought struck the valley. Rivers shrank. Fields dried. Fear spread among the people. Neighbors argued. Friends stopped helping one another. Greed began replacing kindness. The valley changed, and something strange happened. Clouds gathered around the sleeping giant mountain. The earth trembled softly. The old stories returned. The elders grew worried. They remembered the giant's final words. "As long as the world remains kind, I shall rest." Perhaps the mountain was responding, not to drought, but to the growing darkness in people's hearts. One night, Eli, now an old man, climbed a hill overlooking the giant. He looked across the troubled valley. Then he spoke aloud. "Arkan, if you can hear me, we have forgotten what matters." The wind answered softly. Eli returned to the village. The next morning he began helping others. He shared food. He repaired homes. He comforted the lonely. Slowly, others joined him. One by one, kindness returned. Neighbors worked together. families supported each other. The spirit of the valley changed. And as it did, the dark clouds around the mountain disappeared. The earth became still. The giant remained asleep. Peace returned once more. Years later, when Eli became the village elder, children gathered around him and asked, "Is the sleeping giant real?" Eli smiled. Then he answered, "Perhaps." The children waited eagerly. Eli pointed towards the mountain. The giant's greatest power was never his strength. "What was it?" they asked. "It was his kindness." The children looked puzzled. Eli continued, "Whether the giant truly sleeps beneath that mountain doesn't matter. What matters is remembering why he sleeps." The children listened carefully. "He sleeps because he trusted us to protect the world ourselves." And in that moment, they understood. The legend was not only about a giant. It was about humanity. Even today, travelers visit the valley. At sunset, the mountain still resembles a giant peacefully resting beneath the sky. When moonlight bathes the ridges in silver light, some say they can almost see the giant breathing. Others claim they hear a heartbeat carried by the wind. And on very quiet nights, when the stars shine brightly overhead, the mountain seems less like stone and more like a guardian, a protector, a friend, still resting after saving the world long ago, waiting peacefully beneath forests and rivers, dreaming beneath clouds and stars, watching over future generations, and reminding all who see him that true strength is not found in power. It is found in kindness. And perhaps, as long as kindness remains alive in our hearts, the sleeping giant will continue his peaceful sleep for many ages to come. If you enjoyed this journey through the legend of the Sleeping Giant Mountain, please leave a like and subscribe to Moonlight Stories for more relaxing tales, fantasy adventures, and bedtime storytelling. Tell us in the comments, do you believe the sleeping giant is still dreaming beneath the mountain? Turn on notifications so you never miss a new story, and let every night become a new adventure. Until our next journey, close your eyes, relax, and let your dreams carry you beyond the mountains and into the stars. Good night, and sweet dreams.